Testing, testing. All right, audio works. I'll be starting in a few minutes, just getting myself organized. Okay, gonna get the show on the road. I've been a little busy this morning, so I didn't have much time to stream, but I have a good chunk of my game sort of up and running, and I'm looking to get more stuff done. Let's give it a few more minutes, then we're gonna get started. I want to add in bullets. There's a few things I need to work on. The most important right now is probably I want to get the guy shooting. So, what am I building? So it's Ludum Dare. I think, what was the theme? Something about like combine two incompatible genres. So for my game, right now I have a Mega Man game. It's actually worked out really well. I've been sort of prepping the engine for this a little bit over the week, and what I want to build is I was building an endless runner for Mega Man, and what I'm thinking of doing is making this into a turn-based game. So hey, Space Monkey Live, nice to see you streaming again. Good luck. Thank you for your wishes of luck, because it's definitely, this is gonna be a tough one for me. I don't really have a lot of time over the weekend. I'm at home. Usually when I want to do like Ludum Dare, I'll like be traveling or something, so I have the weekend in a hotel room or do an event. But anyways, what I've built here is just this little simple Mega Man runner. This morning I woke up, I was up around like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I fixed all the physics. This is like a very primitive set of physics that just let him jump. And the tile map stuff is all working, and it's basically it's plopping down random sections of map as it's going through. And what I need to do now is, I think the next step is probably to get shooting working. That seems like a good idea. So I'm gonna and I'm gonna be building this in my game engine, Pixel Vision 8. If you guys aren't familiar with that, so let's do this. We're gonna create a new Lua file, and we're gonna call this code bullets.lua, and we're going to create a local table for bullets, And we'll do local bullet total. How about total bullets equals 0. And I've been trying a new sort of design pattern to see how this works. And I kind of like this idea of how I've been breaking out the code into separate scripts where there's local variables. This is Lua. There's local variables. And then what I wind up doing with the local variables is that it's just sort of scoped to this. Now, normally when I stream, I do it at 1080p, but it sort of drives me nuts with trying to see. Like, this is not enough room. So since this isn't something that, hey, Buddha, welcome to the stream. Since this isn't something I expect people to follow along with me, I sort of tried to find a higher resolution. So if things aren't that clear, just let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can magnify things or maybe go back down. But in all honesty, this is one of those streams where I don't have a lot of time and I don't expect anyone to follow, and I just want to build really cool shit really quickly. So that being said, here's what we're doing. We're building out this. We're going to build out some instances that represent bullets. And the way that I was like sort of thinking about this is that if we look at the game, there's no collision right now, with the exception of just the basic physics engine that allows the player to not fall through the tiles. And what we're going to do is we're going to create an instance of a bullet. We're going to pass it probably into the entity system, which is what's actually animating everything. But the bullet system is going to manage the actual like physics of it. So I have a separate physics system where I can add a physics object, and then it just sort of does the basics physics stuff. I think there we go. So we're gonna do something very similar. So in this case, there's not gonna be a lot of talking. I need to really, like, it's Ludum Dare, man, I got a code. So a function, we're gonna do add bullet, and what we're probably gonna do is the bullet's gonna be like really, really basic. Now there's a spawn code, a spawner. What I'll probably do is I'll use the spawn entity stuff that I wrote earlier, and when we add a new bullet, I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. There's two ways that we could do this. We could either create the bullet and then have it configure itself, but I'm trying to like reuse as much code as possible. I think I want to use the spawn entity system. So, all right, let's do this. Let's create a new bullet, and we're gonna give it a X position, a Y position, a speed, and a direction. Right? And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to call spawn entity and pass it in an ID. And we're just going to call this bullet. And what else is it? So we give it an ID, excuse me, in an X and a Y position, right? So there's X and a Y position. Then what we need to do is local entity, or we'll just call this bullet, equals spawn entity. It's going to create a object that represents the bullet, and it's going to give us back a reference to it. What we're going to do is, now that's going to go into the entity system, and the entity system is going to manage, it's basically going to manage everything it needs in order to display and update on the screen. What we're looking to do, let's see here, right? There's no animation, use scroll, sure. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the bullet is gonna get a speed, and we'll set that equal to speed. The bullet is going to have a direction, and we're gonna set that to direction or false. So either it has a direction, well, we'll just set it to direction. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, how do I want to handle this? I want to add this into the bullets thing, but I don't know if I really need to. Okay, there's a few things I'm trying to like keep track of in my head, and one of the problems is that when I remove an object, it's being stored in like several places, so I might have to come up with a better way of dealing with entities. So, all right, we'll cross that bridge when we have to. What I want to do is I'm going to add to the table, we're going to insert the bullet into the bullets table. Right? And then what we can do now is we have a function update bullets, and we're going to do a time delta. And oh, the other thing we need to do is once we add this, we need to do total bullets equals total. We'll just make it equal to bullets, the total of the bullets. The reason I do this is I don't want to keep calculating this on every update. So if we're not adding bullets, there's no real reason to do it. And so I'm also thinking in the back of my head how we're going to manage this with the spawner is going to like screw everything up. But how about we wonder if there's what I might wind up doing is I might break out some of this logic where when you call draw, I might add in something where this thing just gets ignored, and then maybe the bullets. What I probably want to do is I want to use the bullets update, but not the entity update system. So all right, we'll figure that out. That's not a big deal. It's just there's like going to be lots of updates everywhere. All right, so all we need to do to update a bullet is we're going to set the bullet's x position equal to the bullet x plus the bullet speed, and it's going to be multiplied by time delta. And here we just need to do a for loop through the total bullets, and we'll do local bullet equals bullets I. All right, and now this is just going to update the bullet every frame. What we need to do, and I'm just going to write a note here to do, is look to see if bullet is off screen. We also need to have a modifier, so we'll do local direction modifier equals if bullet direction equals true, it's going to be 1 or -1. And we're going to multiply speed by, well, we'll take this whole thing actually. In essence, we just want to make sure that whatever the direction is. So if the direction is true and it's going to the right, is that going to be right? Direction is true. Set it to 1, right? I don't know. I might have to, I'll have to think about how I want to do this. But long story short is that this direction modifier is simply going to be like whichever, if the bullet is flipped or not. Here's how we'll just do this. Flip X. And we'll call this flip X. So if flip X is true, we want it to move negative. And if it's false, we'll set it to 1. And then we just need to see the bullets off screen. Remove bullet. All right, I want to also set one other thing here. Bullet dot ignore update equals true. Ignore entity update. What I want to do is if entity ignore update doesn't equal true, we're going to do all this stuff here. So I'm just adding a little bit of a flag that since everything is using the same, like I have like these layers. It's like really complicated the way that I set up these things in Lua because there's no like real classes. So like just like layers of logic. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a flag here that just says like, all right, if ignore entity update is set to true, we're basically just going to ignore this. Because what we want to look for is if the entities, let's just copy this whole thing over. What we want to double check is that if the entity, if the bullet X is less than the scroll position X, we need scroll position here. Scroll position X and the bullet dot width divided by 2, then we're going to remove it. So we'll just look for things going to the left here right now, even though it's probably not the way I'm going to start this. But we'll add in the right in a second. What I wanted to make sure is that we remove the bullet correctly. And what I want to do is we're going to do bullet ID. There's like bullet ID equals bullets. And I want to come up with this ID because what I need to do is I need to be able to remove this from the index. So here, let's set it up like this. What it should be is we'll do total bullets. So what's going to happen is at the end, we're going to give this a unique ID bullets. And we should actually do the same thing here for whenever we spawn an object. We insert it in the table, we update the total, and then we should do entity data, entity ID equals total entities. The reason we're doing this is that we need to be able to, we should be able to say like remove an entity by an ID, and it just goes in and removes this ID. So we sort of have this, but I'm not really using it yet. So that's add, so we'll do remove bullet. And what we're going to look for is in the bullets array, we're going to remove this particular ID, and that doesn't really work. The problem is if we change that bullet's ID and we remove it from the table, it's all the other IDs are going to be off. I think I'm gonna have to move away from this idea of like, I'm probably gonna have to do some sort of like object pooling where if an entity isn't being used, it'll be recycled somehow. Huh. All right, we'll figure that out later. How do I remove this thing? Code spawner. Table insert, use scroll. If it's remove entity. Right, if it's off screen, then we, all right, so I'm probably gonna have to use a very similar technique here. Let's ignore this for a second. The only problem is I just don't know how to, I don't know how to remove these things correctly. This becomes a big problem once there's like, once I have like, I have these like managers that are like, they have their own little like array, but then they're managed, like this object is in multiple arrays. I think what I need to do is some sort of cleanup thing. All right, well, let's do this. Let's not let's not worry about this too much. Let's just see if we can get a bullet to work. Then we'll figure out how to clean it up, because this is the first one that's like becoming more complicated, and I have to really start managing how this stuff works. So let's do this. We need to create a bullet decorator function. So we'll do configure the bullet, configure entity bullet, and what we're gonna do is there should be some basic bullet thing. Small shot 1, 2, and 3. Small shot 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't remember what any of this stuff does. Let's see here. Sandbox. Small shot. Well, all right, before we even worry about animation and stuff, let's just do small shot 1. And the sprite data is going to be small shot 1. The width is going to be the sprite data width multiplied by 8. Color offset. Let's leave that off. And we'll do configure entity bullet. So now we should be able to call a new bullet. So when you hit B, what we're going to do is we'll do shoot, and we're going to call new bullet, and we're going to set this to the player X, player Y, and we're going to set the flip value to false. Let's see if this even just does anything. Oh, it just breaks. All right, so code 60 new bullet. Ah, right, it breaks because I haven't loaded this. So code bullets. Let's see here. All right, so that spawned the bullet. We're not updating the bullet. You can see it below the player. Kind of curious why it's so low, but we can always do some stuff here like -16, and now the bullet will just sort of show up there. It's looping because I'm not removing it yet, but that's actually, ironically enough, it looks like it's all right. It's we need to do this as release. Bullet input state release, because if not, you're just going to get like multiple shots. Cannot access field release. I forgot my own APIs. Git book. Where's the quick? Oh, you know what? We can use the new website. Pixel Vision 8. Get that new website. Let's go to the documentation. I should actually just log in. What did I? There we go. All right. So let's yeah, save that. Sure, why not? Game creator documentation. Oh wait, how did it log in? Interesting. I think I'm actually logged into the confirm. Whatever. All right, so I've just gotten the documentation, and let's look at this. And we're going to look for, I'm looking for input. Oh, it's just input. There should be an input state. Released. There we go. Input state released. I haven't done a lot with the controller stuff. I wrote that code like a long time ago. All right, so that works. we're at the players X and Y. What we need to do for this as well is we need to add in the scroll position X and the scroll position Y. So that should... I see. I think it's too high. Let's get rid of this minus 16. This might now have to be plus 8. Yeah, okay. Now that's at the top of his head. Perfect. All right, so that's making a little more sense. Plus 8. Well, actually, we can go and look at the... We can go look at this guy and figure out... 14, I guess? Why is Photoshop slow? All right, so let's make this plus 14. And there we go. That's sort of in his gun. 16. All right. So now we're not updating the bullet, so the bullet actually doesn't travel. And in fact, what I want to do is while we're here and we're doing the decoration stuff, let's just take a look at this. All right, that looks much better. I had to shift the palette over by 1. All right, so it's it looks like I'm creating bullets, so that's good. What we should also do on the bullets thing is there should be a local max bullets equals 4. So one thing we can, the one problem we're going to have is that eventually we're going to run out of sprites. So it's creating instances of them, but we're not clearing it because the Game Boy template can only do 40 sprites at a time. So we're going to do a max bullets, and if total bullets is greater than max bullets, then end. Or actually what we could do is if total bullets is less than max bullets, we'll create a bullet. So now this should limit us so that we only do a certain number of bullets. Right? So there's 4 bullets, and that's the most that we can do at any one time. Perfect. Let's close out this Pomodoro. I feel like the physics are working. Add in platformer physics. Sure, that's working for right now. And then we'll add in the bullets, which we're working on right now. All right, let's submit this. So now the what do we want to do? So what I want to do next, we'll get rid of this for right now. We're going to call update bullets and see if we can get these guys moving. So we create a new bullet, update bullets. Luckily, we don't have to, we actually don't have to redraw them. We're just going to take advantage of the entities drawing system. But we need time delta and scroll position. So now if we refresh this and we shoot, it should break everything, right? Code bullet 32. Bullet X equals bullet X direction modifier. Bullet speed time delta. Let me just set this to 1 right now. Bullets. Bullet X plus direction modifier multiplied by bullet speed time delta. Update bullets time delta. All right, let's just do this. I don't know what's, I don't know exactly what the problem is, but all right, the bullets are moving. What we need to do is, I think when I created the bullet, I didn't, oh, here we go. I set it to false. When we create a new bullet, we want to set the speed to, let's set the speed to 10. and false. And this should all work. So it's moving really, really slow. Let's set that to like 50. It might have to be faster than the scroll speed, right? There we go. Someone's at my door. I will be right back. All right, sorry about that. Had a exterminator came. My wife is out, so now I have to, as much as I was given permission to make games this weekend, I still have to take care of some stuff. All right, so we have bullets moving. What we got to look at now is how to actually get them to go away. What I want to see is, I want to see if I set this to true, if they go the opposite direction. Right, so because the screen is moving to the right, we would just slow down the bullet, but that works out pretty well. All right, that's simple. Now comes the hard part. We have to figure out how to actually remove all these bullets. So what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking of creating a system that allows us to flag an entity that needs to be removed, and then at the end of the frame, we delete anything that's inactive. How do I want to do this? What I really So, okay, so there's three systems right now, and then there's probably going to be like a fourth or a fifth. And each of these systems sort of manage a reference to an entity, and they do their own thing. So what I got to figure out, so there's the spawning system, which manages entities. That handles updating an entity's animation and drawing it. There is a system for doing physics, and then there's a system for bullets, and there's going to be a system for collision. What I got to figure out is, since they're all referencing the same thing, I wonder, here's sort of what I'm thinking, is that each one of these systems will basically keep track of its own garbage collection, and if something is flagged as inactive or remove, it'll just remove it from its own list as it goes through. What I don't want to do is create so there's a loop that goes through physics, there's a loop that goes through entities, there's a loop that goes through bullets. I don't want to create a loop that goes through all of these things and then cleans it up. It's like too many loops, right? So what we got to do is let's do something like this. We're going to create a on the entity. We'll actually create it here. Inactive or deleted. Do we want to call it inactive? All right, so we're going to set this to inactive. And I think what we're going to do is if ignore entity update or entity.inactive equals true, then this is the for loop for this and this off screen. What I'm just trying to figure out is that if we loop through this and the entity, let's do this. So if entity dot inactive equals true, then end. And what we would do here is only remove sprites that use scroll position. Insert to off screen. So if it's inactive, what we would do here is entity.inactive equals true. And if the object is inactive, we're going to remove it, else we'll go through all right, we'll get back to that. And then this will remove any entities from the screen. All right, what I want to see is that we're actually removing these helmets, or those like one-up things. Yeah, all right, it is getting removed. All right, so that's sort of working. What we want to do next is when a bullet I want to inactive delete flag or remove. All right, we're going to rename this remove. I don't want inactive because inactive. No. Why did I just... What the hell just happened? I swore it just modified code in a different thing. All right. So like what I want to double check real quick before we get any further into this is let me get rid of this. And I just want to make sure that if we see a bunch of helmets that still hang around, then this code isn't working correctly. Yeah, see how they're all stacking up now? We're getting too many of these helmets. There's going to be an E that keeps... All right, there we go. So this is working. So what I want to do is I want to change inactive to remove. I'm like really confused as to why... Oh, I see. Never mind. All right. Now all of a sudden, because it changed to remove, it understood this. Okay. If we remove an entity at I don't know. Let's get rid of this. We don't want to do that either. All right. So if an entity entity.remove equals true, we're going to insert this into the remove list. We'll call this remove list, replace all, and now on the next frame, anything that we mark as remove and set that to true, it will automatically remove them. So we're going to copy this code. It sort of seems like a code smell, but I can't make every single thing completely modular. So let's do this. We're going to create a remove list. And what we want to make sure is that we're actually flagging the right thing. So we're going to call this physics remove. Remove. We'll add it to the remove list. If entity physics remove equals true, and if entity remove equals true, here we're going to set this to when we create a new object, we're going to call this target dot physics remove equals false, and then at the end we're going to loop through all of these and remove them. Or is that inside of the for loop? Whoops, I need to put that here. All right, so that should get us to removing the entity. Here what we want to do is remove... Oh, interesting. Did I not just like... Didn't I delete that remove entity thing? Oh, crap. No chance it's going to let me... I shouldn't have deleted that method. Where did I put that? Remove... That was really ghetto the way I did that. All right, spawn entity, remove entity. Fine, okay. So here, remove physics entity will be the same thing. If target is a PID, delete. I think what we're going to do with this physics remove this here, remove physics entity, we're going to give it an ID. And we're going to, I was trying to come up with, I have like different variants of the system as I was working it out this morning, and I didn't like really any of them. I think this flag system is going to work a little bit better. I don't know. It's a lot of work to get this to be modular. All right, remove entity. Actually, since we don't want to call remove entity here, we want to remove physics entity. The only thing we just want to make sure is that these things are well, I don't really have anything to remove. I just want to make sure, okay, the entities are being, I haven't removed any physics entities yet. All right, remove that entity. All right, what we want to do now is, whoops. Let's go to bullets, and we're going to add in the same logic. We're going to create a remove list. So on update bullets, as we loop through each of the bullets, we're going to create a remove list. So if, let's try this. If bullet X is greater than scroll position dot X plus 160. Well, I'm just going to rough this out for right now. What we can actually do is I was thinking we could do bullet dot bullet remove equals bullet X being greater than the stage, then the scroll position plus, scroll position will be the left-hand side of the screen plus 160, which is the right-hand side of the screen. And let's see if we do this. So then what we would do at the very end is we're going to loop through and clean up each one of these. And what we can do is remove bullet. So this is the problem that I have right now. I still don't know how to correctly remove this from, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All we're doing is each one of these systems is managing its own thing. So because we are setting this bullet remove all right, I think what we're going to do is, sure. This might actually work. This is like really weird. It's like, I've never really built a system like this. So I'm like trying to think through all the permutations of how this is actually going to play out. And I don't know yet. So what I'm looking for is if this entity is removed, each one of these systems has a reference to the same object in memory. And then as it goes through on the update loop, if it's been flagged as remove, it's going to remove it and then delete it from its own remove list. Remove list, remove physics entity. So here we're just going to have this remove bullet entity. It actually should be, this one did it correctly. Right, because we're going to set, well, we can just do this to make it easier. That just gets the total of the bullets, and we always make sure that we have the correct total so we don't have to calculate in the next loop. That's like a micro optimization, but we're going to go for it anyways. All right, so if we go through here and we pull out a bullet, if the bullet is flagged for remove from true, insert this index into the remove list. Then at the very end, we're going to go through the remove list and we're going to remove the bullet entity. And then each list should automatically remove itself. So the spawner will remove it, the bullet will remove it, and it should be good to go. In theory. Let's see. Let's see if this works. All right, I got a code error. 50, line 50. Bullet remove, bullet X, scroll position. All right, too many parentheses. All right, so then that goes off screen. It got removed. Look at that. It actually worked. And it's not throwing an error in the other list. Wow. There we go. We got shooting. All right, so let's set this to scroll X plus 8 plus scroll position. 8, we need this to be not 16, but 14. Trying to get the bullet to be at the front of the gun. Let's just do this. Player width. That should be the right position. Yeah, close enough. All right, so that gives us our shooting. And we don't need to print this out every statement. The other thing we want to look for now is if a bullet is, well, first off, we need where was the physics boundary? Display false. We're gonna get the width of the display and store that here, and we're gonna do plus bounds X. So as soon as that hits the edge, it should basically disappear. Maybe I need to set that to true. Maybe that can be the visible ones. I should learn my own API, huh? All right, well, close enough. At least it's if X, bullet X minus bullet W divided by 2. I mean, I'm going to clean up all this stuff later. Oh, that. Oh, here's what we got to do. I need to find the right edge. So I need to add. Yeah, close enough. Okay. I think if we just make it the full width, that should be fine. It's we got to just make sure that since it's a single pixel, since it's a single sprite, it's not a big deal. But if it was larger than that, we would only want to get half of it. So, all right, I'll deal with that later. Okay, so it's this, and then we'll do or if bullet X minus, if bullet X minus bullet width is less than scroll position X, scroll position X minus bullet width. Because it would wrap around the screen. Let's see if that works. Oh, I need to set this now. We're going to set the bullet to true. And this will make the bullet go to the left-hand side, and that's what the bad guys will be shooting. All right, that works. Cool. All right. So, I just got here. So, sorry for asking if it's been answered if that's already. What's your game idea for Ludum? Yeah, so no, it hasn't been asked. Chat's been pretty quiet. I can't tell how many people have been in and out of the stream. But long story short, what I wanted to build even before I got into Ludum was a sort of Mega Man endless runner using my game engine, Pixel Vision 8. And what the theme was combining two incompatible genres. So I figured like the hallmark of Mega Man was really like having like really great control. So it seemed to work out well with the theme that you sort of lost control and all you can do is literally just jump and shoot. So it's called Jump and Shoot Man. But what I think I might do if I have some extra time is I might actually turn this into a turn-based roguelike and just like mash in a whole bunch of different genres. And what I was thinking was I would have a timer where it would execute a little bit of the game engine and then pause, and then you have to input the controls into a queue, and then it would go through that, and then like so you'd say like, okay, in this next second, jump, shoot, jump, and become this like sort of turn-based strategy game. I don't know if that'll actually work, but either way, I'm gonna to start off with. I'm just building today. I'm building all the core mechanics. I have the backgrounds are being randomly generated. I have basic spawning. I have the player's physics in place now, and it's tied into the tile map. There's just no variation right now in the levels, so there's that. So you don't have any height variations. Then what I just did was I just added shooting, and what I think will happen next is I'm going to add bad guys that can shoot back at the player. And then we'll start just building it piece by piece. Because the last thing that I want to try to get done by today is collision, where we actually can tell when one thing collides with another and sort of what happens when those collisions happen. Hope that answers your question. I think there's got to be like 1 million people streaming Ludum Dare, so I doubt I'm gonna get much. I doubt I'm gonna get many people watching, but I'm gonna try to stream as much as I can today and tomorrow, and then Monday I'll probably stream like pretty much the whole day as I clean up the game. So all right, that's that. What I want to do next is let's get some guns spawning. Now I wrote a pretty interesting system here to manage spawning. And what we're going to do is let's configure, we're going to build a turret. Configure entity turret. Turret. So what happens is when the tile map goes through and it takes a column of tiles from a template and pastes it right off screen as the player moves. And what we can do is I have a system in place where it goes through and it says, hey, spawn this object, and it passes in one of these names based on the collision flag in the tile map. And then I use the fact that Lua just basically lets you do whatever the hell you want. So I look for a global method called configure entity, and I take the name, and then I basically configure it. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going to create a small turret, and this is actually an interesting way to start because I don't know exactly how I'm going to make the turret shoot. So what we might do is we might have I might have to add in some sort of callback system. So in our artwork sprite builder, in the artwork I have a cannon. I think I had a turret as well. Let's do a cannon first. Cannonball, cannon. Because the problem is that the yeah, we'll just do a cannon. The turret's going to be a little bit more complicated. Let's start with something really simple. Because once we have one enemy that can basically shoot, then we can start adding in a lot of other stuff. Make sure you play it when it's completed. Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, I had my last Ludum Dare game did okay. I don't think it like set the world on fire, but I've had a game. The best game I've done so far was my Dragon Sweeper game, which came in like 34th place in one Ludum Dare. That was like the best I've ever done. I've been chasing that dream though. All right, we got the cannon here. Our sprites. So this is a good test just to see how easy it is to add a new object. So here we're going to create the cannon. We're going to calculate its width based on the sprite data width, its height, based on how many tiles it is, and we're going to set its color offset to 4, which it looks like I just need to shift everything over. This is like a palette swap thing. So this was the way the background came out. All right, so all I need to do now is this should be 1, this should be 2, this should be flag 3. So if I go into tiled here, and this is 0, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to, let's do this. I'm going to place this one here. I think this tile map's going to mess up everything. Let's do this by hand. Sorry, I had to sneeze. My tile map stuff is a little bit messed up, so I'm gonna have to. I didn't really finish my workflow with tiled, so wow, Photoshop is dragging. All right, whatever. Let's see, where are the flags? I just need to get the color. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. What we're going to do is, I would really like to know why Photoshop is running so slow. All right, my theory is that if I save this here, when it hits this flag color, it's going to automatically create a turret. Now, I need to just go into the tile map for a second here, and I'm going to remove the randomness, and we're just going to set this to 1 so that we always get the same template. And we'll go back in and we'll replace that later. Yeah, I'm using CC. It's always laggy for me. Yeah, the whole, I don't know, today it's been a little weird. I might have to like restart the computer or something. It might be this resolution, but who knows? Photoshop's terrible. All right, so there, it's spawning our cannon, and it's reading that correctly. Man, this new system is so good. All right, what I just need to figure out though is, let's open up the cannon for a second. Man, this might be like the perfect example of how once you get Pixel Vision 8 like sort of running and you work on its workflow, like how quickly you can get things done. All right, so this is now here. Okay, I see what I need to do. I need to move this down 1. Let's try this again and see if, there we go. So, all right, so the cannon is off by a little bit. Let me see, I might do it. So I'm doing some like offset here just to make sure that like I'm technically cheating. I liked what was supposed to be the inside of a platform. I like that as the background, and I'm trying to invert it so we wind up with this like, so it looks like a frame almost for the game. So what I have to do is I have to sort of shift everything around because it's not lined up to the thing. So okay. So what we can do is when we create this guy, we can just do data.y equals data y plus 4, and that will shift down the sprite when it is spawned, which sort of puts it where it looks like it's now part of the ground. So what I got to figure out next is, how do we get this thing to shoot? And one of the problems is that I just realized the bullets are capped, but we should have like a cap per ID. I don't know how I want to do that. Like the player should be allowed to shoot 4 bullets. The other guy should be allowed to shoot 4 bullets. So let's do this. I'm gonna set the max bullets to like 20 for right now. And here's where we got to figure out. We're going to create a new sort of set of logic here on this entity. We're going to call this data dot call action time equals 0. Data action delay equals 0.5. Data dot action equals all right, let's see if this, well, let's see that, is that how I can't remember how to do lambdas. And all right, cool. All right, so what we're going to do is this. We're going to come in and on the entity update, we're going to look for if an entity has an action time and delay. So if the entity has ignore update, great. We won't do anything. This should actually be an else, and this should be an if with another end in here. And what we're going to do is animate entity. So what we got to make sure is that we can't reuse the animation uses a time and a delay. What we got to make sure is that we don't reuse that for the action, because if we do, we're going to corrupt it, because there could be an entity that has an animation and an action, and we don't want to mess that up. So we're going to keep these independent. So here is the frames that just handle its basic animation. Before we do that, though, what we want to do is we want to calculate whether there's an action or not. So think of it this way, like when the thing fires, I might like have it recoil or something. This one doesn't do that, but I would change the frames before I actually want to animate and go through the frame animation stuff. So that being said, what we're going to look for is we're going to see if entity dot action time does not equal nil, then end. And let's just do, we will do entity action time plus or equals entity action time plus time delta. Then we're going to look to see if entity dot action time is greater than the action delay. It's becoming like hard to see all of my code again. Then entity action time equals 0. All right, so entity action time will equal 0. Then what we're going to look to see is if entity dot action, is that what I called it? Action does not equal null, or nil in this case. I hate Lua. The only thing I like about Lua is that it lets me code this stuff pretty quickly. But normally, like Pixel Vision 8 is really a C# engine. I just added like a layer of Lua scripting on top of it to make it easier to work with. All right, so what we're going to do is entity I think I can do this. I can't remember how this stuff works. We'll find that in a second. Attempt to call a nil value. Fire cannon. Bam. All right, so now all we need to do is call new bullet. We're gonna have to. Well, I think I know how I'm gonna limit this stuff. So let's do this. We're gonna create a new bullet at data self.x .y .width. We don't need the scroll position because it's already there. Let's just do it at its own x. Actually, we can just do it this way. Data x data y 50 false. All right, so it's shooting. True. There we go. There we go. It's working. That's pretty cool. All right, it's a game, sort of. That's interesting. One of the bullets got frozen. We'll let that run for a second. I just want to see what's making it freeze. I wonder if it had something to do with when this was shooting. Whoa. Things are getting a little wacky here. I don't know if it has something to do with the fact that like the remove system is if the remove system is messed up. All right, so let's do this. The next step really is to get the cannonball to display correctly. All right. So that being said, the way I was thinking of just doing it right now was we're gonna go back to our bullets thing. I need to move all this into here because this is. I need more space. Wow, everything is lagging. Let's go to the spawner and, all right, so new bullets. So what we're gonna do is local max bullets equals a empty array. And what we're going to do is limit all right, so I had this kind of interesting idea. What I was going to do is we're going to pass in an ID that will allow us to create the bullet. In this case, when we go to spawn the entity, we'll simply pass that down, right? And by default, there'll just be a limit of 4. So we're going to pass ID here. I'm not going to get into this limit just yet. I'll sort of explain how that works. I just want to see if this actually works. So we're going to pass down this bullet. Then in the spawner, I want to copy this. Code bullets. Yeah, we'll just basically spawn an entity. We'll give it an I name. All right. I'm following. Let's close this out and close out the physics. We don't need this either. Code physics. All right, so what we're looking to do is we're going to pass in canon. So when this thing calls it, we're going to do canon is the ID. We'll pass in the name canon, and in our spawner, we're going to call this configure entity canon. Cannonball. Here's the cannonball, and we're going to set the cannonball as the graphic. So what I'm hoping is that this will automatically spawn a different. There we go. It's spawning the cannonball. All right, and what we need to do is now do. We now need to do the limit. All right. I think that works. Okay, so the way I was thinking of doing the limit was this. Basically, when you go to spawn a bullet, we're going to look to see, all right, if bullet limit ID equals null, then end bullet limit ID equals limit or 4. So in essence, what we're going to do is you can optionally tell a bullet that, hey, you're like one of X number, or this is the amount you can have, and then we're going to keep track. If the bullet limit exists, so if, well, what we could just do is this way. So if, well, no, we want to cap the bullets. I was thinking like I can keep it like pretty open-ended, but we really need to cap the bullets. So all we're going to do is take a look at this and do if total bullets. That's not fun. If you create a new bullet. Okay, I see what I want to do. This is going to get complicated. So what we actually have to do is we have to keep track of the total number of bullets per type. And that's what we're going to use as this ID as the index of. So we're going to look for the bullet limit ID. And if this hasn't been defined yet, if it equals null, we're going to go through and we're going to create a new object or a new table. And this table is going to contain the total and the maximum number. Right? So let's just run this and make sure that this doesn't blow up in our face. Like it just did, 24. If total bullets equals max bullets, right? We don't have a notion of max bullets anymore. So I'm gonna just disable this right now, and then we're gonna go through and we'll just do this piece by piece, right? So we shoot, great. There's no limit, unlimited bullets, awesome, awesome, awesome. Everything is great. All right, so what we need to do now is take a look at, by the time we get down to here, we want to look for the local total well, this is going to be fun. What we need to do is bullet limit ID. If this ID dot all right, so if counter dot total is less than counter dot max, great. What we need to do next is look for wherever we calculate total bullets. And we're going to take counter dot total and set it equal to total bullets counter dot total equals counter dot total plus 1. And we're going to get rid of this. We don't need to have the bullet ID anymore. Now, when we go to remove a bullet, what we need to do is make sure that we look for this is a number. So we need to remove the bullet counter. And the way that we would do that is we would do bullets dot ID dot, we need to store the ID of the bullet. Create a new bullet, spawn entity ID bullet ID. Actually, let's call this type, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to look for this type, and we're going to pass it into the bullet limit. Local counter equals bullet limit bullets ID type, and then we'll just do counter dot total equals counter dot total minus 1, and then we'll delete the bullet from its total instances, and we should be good. Remove list, we call remove bullet entity, and the only place that we actually touch the total bullets is when we insert a new one and when we remove it and when we loop through it. Well, that got complicated fast. All right, let's see if this works. So there we go. It's now limiting it based on the type, and now we won't have a situation where we're creating so many bullets that we don't have any way of actually. You're seeing some of them are disappearing because there's too many sprites on the screen. I've already hit the sprite limit. That's not good. All right, I think that works pretty well. One thing we're going to have to be very cognizant of is that we only create cannons at the very end of a template. Oh, something has crashed. Oh yeah, I see. It's the counter for the cannon is just going to it's not long enough. The action delay should be like 1 second or 1.5 seconds. So every 1.5 seconds it would shoot. Why is that automatically deleting? What we're going to do is we're going to set the action time to 0.5. So here's a neat trick, right? Like when this thing starts, it's counting out for 1 second, but it's not even on the screen for a full second. You see it starts shooting at the end. We're going to set the action time very close to the action delay so that as soon as it gets onto the screen, it'll start shooting. like that. All right. I mean, this isn't like very fun or challenging yet. Hopefully my goal is to really just get as much of this going as possible, and then tomorrow I will make it fun. I guess, right? Like that's the hope. It's doing something like really weird. I'm trying to figure out why it seems to be spawning one and then it's disappearing. And I can't tell if so let's look at sprite total. I don't remember what the API is. There we go. All right, so there's 9 total, 13, 17. All I was looking for was here you'll just be able to see how many sprites there are on the screen at any given time. So if I start shooting, it'll start going up. All right, I think we're doing well. So what do we want to do next? The next thing we could probably do is we could try to get collisions working. We can like build out a health meter and get that going. I think that's probably, that's probably what we should do next. Let's come here. So the controls work now. We need to, so I added cannon and new bullets and action. So add actions to entities, which we did. And the next thing I want to do is add health bar. Add collisions. So I think what we're going to do is I'm probably just going to take a quick like 5-minute break. We should take this opportunity to save our work. I'm just going to compress this right now. All right, so I'm getting tired. It's not good for Ludum Dare. I've been up since like 4 a.m., so that didn't help either. I wouldn't have gotten so much done if I wasn't up at 4 a.m. because I spent most of my morning with my boys. So, all right, I think the next real step is to we'll set up a basic health bar. And then once we get the health bar down, we'll start cleaning up the background and we'll get the UI layer going as well. All right, cool. I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break. I just need to like stretch for a second. So quick, be right back, quick break. What is it? We'll do like 1:27 or something like that. All right, so I'll be back at 1:27 p.m. I'll just set the timer at 2, and then you guys can watch this awesome animation. And all right, so we've done this, added collisions, wired up controls, make sure the sprites work, We did a little bit of that. All right, cool. We're done. I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then from there, we'll come back, and then we'll start working on the other stuff. All right. Let's still got some time. Wonder what's going on the other Ludum Dare streams. Let's see here. LD Jam. I don't even know if I show up in this. I might have like registered myself a while ago. I don't remember. I'm probably down here with like no views. Nope, I'm not even showing up there. What did I have to do in order to be... Oh, did I have to like tag it as Ludum... Do I have to tag my stream for Ludum Dare? Let's do that. Twitch. How do I change... I don't even know if I can change it in the middle of the stream. Where is... Go live notifications, title, category. The category is going to be Ludum Dare. All right, there we go. I think I changed it. I don't know, I might have to stop it and restart it. I don't really care. It'll at least show up tomorrow. I'm not taking this as like an opportunity to get like a lot of followers. I just wanted to have some fun streaming. Just checking out one other thing. Then once my break is over, which is very soon, we'll let's see if I wonder if I pop up now. This is Ludum Dare. Nope, I'm still not showing up. I'm gonna stop my stream real quick and then restart it. I will be right back, so don't go anywhere. I should be back now. Oh, it's communities. Huh. All right, I can add that as a community. I can only add 3 communities, so let's do Ludum Dare. All right, we'll be part of that community. All right, and I'm also playing it. Let's see. I have to like... it's been like so long since I've like really like gone through and done like Twitch and like really paid attention to what I was doing. And I really need to get better at like just understanding what the hell I'm supposed to do on Twitch. I was like one of the first people to be like promoting it at work to like, hey, we should be do like development stuff in these streams. But yeah, I haven't done a really good job of doing it. So I'm gonna see what Games Done Quick isn't playing. Okay. Oh, is it? Games Done Quick is going on while it's Ludum Dare? That stinks. I'd be watching that instead. Maybe we should just watch that as my stream. All right, so let's get back into this, and we're going to build out a really simple health bar. Now, how do I want to do that? I don't know what I want to do. How do I want to do this? Let's look at SB Sprites, and in SB Sprites, in the Sprite Builder folder, I should have a health bar. Energy. Meter. There we go. So we have meter background, meter 4, 3, 2, and 1. So my kids are screaming in the background. All right, let's just try to draw the meter and see what we can do about that. Now, I don't think it's going to. I think what I'm going to need to do is this. I think I need to. Well, let's just draw it and we'll go from there. Okay. I'm going to create a new function called function draw meter, and we'll pass in a value, but we're going to leave this empty for right now. And then we should just be able to do draw sprites. I hate motorcycles. They're so loud and obnoxious. Like, I wish they were banned, but that's like a whole other conversation. Draw meter bar, draw sprites. All right, so I was looking at, there should be a meter. So we're going to draw the meter dot sprite IDs. In fact, what we should do is this. We're going to do local. We're going to set it up here. We're going to create a local meter bar equals meter dot sprite IDs. And what I'm looking to do is I'm basically just going to get a reference to all of these sprite IDs. This doesn't make 1, 2, 3. Is that really how tall the meter is? Hold on a second. Something's up with this. Photoshop. I can't deal with Photoshop. Oh my God. What is going on? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't like the way I built this. So what I was trying to do was change the inside sprites and see if I can get that to work. This is where it gets sort of tricky, right? Because I have 2, 4, there's 6 sprites here. 8. Let's do the math here. Calculator. We have 40 sprite draw calls minus 8 for the health bar. then if we're running the game, there's like 9, 13, 20, minus 20. So this is with 12 sprites for other stuff. The text might also be getting counted as those sprites. So I am just drawing that as... No, I'm drawing to the UI layer. That shouldn't count. Okay. All right, here's what we're going to do. Because of the way that I set this up, we're just going to draw the sprites as is. Let's get rid of this. I'm going to draw this at 0, 0. The width is meter width. And everything else, everything else shouldn't even matter. Well, no, actually, I lied. This should be false, false, draw mode, sprite above, color offset 0, on screen false, use scroll position false. All right. And then now what we need to do is call draw meter. We should be able to actually do this as a sprite. I think that the Game Boy actually had 2 layers to draw stuff on, one for UI and one for not, so we wouldn't be breaking it too terribly, but let's just try to keep this simple. Lua 90 cannot access field sprites. Oh, it should just be sprite. Draw call sprite. All right, so there's our health bar. Let's set this to 1. Oh, whoops, set this to 4. All right, so there's our health bar. And what we want to do is basically fill the inside of it with other sprites. So I think I might rebuild this whole health bar. I don't really like the way that this is set up right now, and I'm thinking of a much better way of doing it. What I want to do is I'm going to quit this for right now. I want to figure out why Photoshop is running awfully, because it's going to be really hard to do anything in Photoshop. I'm just going to quit a few things and see if there was something in the background that was running that was... Hopefully it doesn't kill my sound. All right. Nothing like tweaking everything at the same time. Activity monitor. What is eating up my CPU time? All right. Well, that doesn't reveal anything. All right. Let's do this. We're going to go into the sprites. I almost feel like, I wonder if I can just delete the sprite cache. Let's see here. Let's open up this build to Pixel Vision 8. I've been doing like special builds of Pixel Vision 8 on these streams. So this isn't, there's not much difference between what's out there now. There's more bug fixes, and I don't think I've even added any real new features. If we play this, all right, the sprites all work. Even with the sprite cache gone, right, because I'm not using the tile map stuff. Okay, cool. So what we want to do is I'm going to rebuild this this sprite bar, or this health bar. What I'm thinking is that I want to lay these on the inside of this, which it already automatically fits. But what I want to try to get to, wow, Photoshop is just dragging. I mean, this image is like nothing, and it can't even handle this. Why is Photoshop running so damn slow? Scratch disks. Has enough space. Performance. Use graphic processor. Whatever. All right. How can we get this? How can we get this to actually work right? No, it's not. It's not why the game runs. Everything was running fine. I think I had it running all day, and it just like over time, it just sort of like freaks out and like even if I go in, like I'll close out activity monitor. Let's close out this. Photoshop is still just dragging. Like it's just there's something wrong with it today. And the worst part is like they update it and you never know what version you're on, and like they just introduce bugs, and it's just the whole thing is just awful. Now I can't even exit out of this crap. There we go. All right, health bar, health bar, health bar. Let's just hack it together, because if I'm going to sit here and spend all this time trying to like optimize it, it's, yeah, you know, I want to do Asaprite. There's a few reasons why I still use Photoshop. I love Asaprite too. All right, so there's our health bar. It might actually work out fine. Like Mega Man had like a much longer health bar, but I don't think I really want to do that. Like I want the game to be pretty quick. It's like, it's something. I mean, it works. Sorry. Whoops. Bullets Lua, a nil value, 48. 48. Local counter. Bullet ID type. If bullets ID equals nil, then end return. I guess somewhere it was like deleting bullet and it didn't have a reference to it. All right, so let's add some health into this. Now, what we're going to do is we need to draw two sprites, basically. So, health top. Health bottom. Draw a sprite. Let's just do this for right now. We're going to set it to the maximum value. And local meter position x equals 0, y equals 0. Border equals, well, what we should do is make a inner, we got to figure out where the bar X and Y starts, right? So that's, what is this? Oh my God, Photoshop. 4 by 3. Track X equals 4. Track Y equals 3. Inner X, inner Y. Inner Y, Y. I don't know. For some reason, I'm like sort of crashing. It's like that afternoon crash. False. False. Draw mode. Sprite. 4. Y plus 8. All right, so that should draw this health bar. Break everything. There we go. So there's our health bar. We can actually move this down. We'll move this over by 4 and 8. Oh, right. I need to actually do meter X. Position Y. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's do 12 and 8. There we go. That's actually a little too far. We'll do 4. I was going to have some border on the top, which is where I'll put the score. So there's our health bar. And what we need to figure out next is... I don't like this. Let's see if this works. All right, so that looks a little bit better. And what this will do is at least just give us a little bit of, it'll give us a little bit of like a, you know, as you mess up in the game, you'll be able to at least like, you know, not die instantly. So now what we need to just do is calculate that when you pass in a value, what that value is, and how we display the sprites. Oh my God, my brain's like shutting off. Ugh. All right, let's draw the meter. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set this player, and when we spawn the player, configure entity player. We're gonna give him life. Data life equals, how many bars do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8. Data max life. We'll just do life max equals 8. Right? If you ever if you do something where like when he picks up energy, he would just increase his health by a certain amount. We want to make sure we don't go over that certain amount. So we have life and life max, or make it life total. Strangely enough, even though I'm supposed to be like just focusing on building this game as quickly as humanly possible, I keep thinking in the back of my mind, like I want this to become a tutorial for how to use Pixel Vision 8. So I'm trying to name everything and keep the code clean. Maybe that's not the right approach today, but that's sort of what I feel like doing. So, okay. What we want to do is if value is greater than 4 end will display the top bar, right? And if value is greater than 0, then end. And what we should just be able to do, although this is like the worst time of the day for me to like try to figure out math, is that we just sort of subtract the top from the bottom and we'll be in good shape. So like in this case, it would be something like we would do var local data, or actually, well, local top equals what I was trying to think is like, is there a way that how do I want to do this? Do I want to split it from the low end and draw the bottom up? Let's do this. Let's give this a try real quick and then we'll work on the offset stuff. So if it's greater than 4, we need the top, right? Because there's only 4 per thing, right? So let's give this a try. So we'll run this. Oh, there's something that keeps attempting to compare a nil value. Lua 99. 99. Draw a meter bar. Player. Well, we can actually just do it here. We don't have to do the player health. Well, player dot life equals health. All right, so we'll draw the meter to the player's health. So if we were to come in here and set this to, let's set this to 2, it should only draw the bottom piece, right? And I wonder if we can use modulus. Like, what I'm trying to think is like if I subtract 4 from the value, the remainder, if I subtract 4 from the value, how do I want to do this? So like here, what I want to do is I want to get this to the point where I can just do something like this. Global meter 4. And what we would do is value minus 4. Which would give us the remainder of this. Although if it's 1, that's what I'm like lost on. All right, let's just see if we can get this to 4. And then I'll just do some, I would say some quick math, but that's just not gonna work. All right, so the first thing we do is we need to subtract if value is, well, no. Minus 4. So once we calculate the top, we're going to take off this, and then the value will be modified. If it's greater than 0, we're just going to set this to, there we go, 2. So right, so let's go through all the values here. If we set this to 0, it's not going to run anything. You won't see any sprites. 1, 2. This would be a good time for me to drink coffee, but I don't drink coffee. 3. 4. All right, so then there's 5. So now we get to 5, and it's going to draw all this stuff. And here's where why would this would be, why would this go to 1? No, this isn't working right. I gotta think this through. Is it? Oops, I'm recording. I wonder if modulus is what I need to do. Because here, what it should be would be something like local top value equals value modulus 4, and then this would be the top value. Then what we would do is we would take value, and it would be value minus top value, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 105. So here's the problem. If this value, modulus 5, is that what I need to do? 113. Now, modulus 5 is going to be too much. It is modulus 4. If what it should be top value if the value equals 8 and 4 or modulus. There we go. 8, 9 would break it. Let's just count backwards to make sure all this works. 7, 6, 5, 4, don't break on me. 3, stop recording, Jesse. These keyboard shortcuts are very close together. Like rushing through this. I gotta go downstairs for a minute, take a quick break. Yeah, that was the problem. 8 modulus 4 equals 0. So 1 and then 0. Cool. All right, so basically we now have player health and we are good to go. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. Um, and then when I come back, we're going to try to get bullets. We're going to try to get the enemy's bullets to look for the player. And I'm not actually sure how I want to do that yet. So I need to like step away from the computer for a second. So let's take like I'm gonna take a quick like a 10-minute break. This might be a little bit much, but I'm gonna take a 10-minute break. If you guys continue to stay, that'd be awesome. If not, I'll be back. I'll be streaming for this afternoon. So I'm gonna take a 10-minute break, and then I'll come back and we'll continue to get this health bar stuff working, and we'll figure out how we want to do the collision stuff. So I will return. All right. We'll start back up in a second. I got to change my music. It's like putting me to sleep. I'm also like really tired. I mean, it probably didn't help that I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning and started working on this thing. All right, so let's just talk through what we got to do next. The next step is that we got to make bullets look for their targets. Now, what I want to do is I really want to avoid doing like lots and lots of loops all over the place. Like already I'm seeing that there's like I don't know, first off, I don't even know why it's not running at 60 frames a second. That's like really strange. I'm not pushing a lot of stuff, so I can't tell if that's just like a bug or maybe I was leaving it running for so long that over time it just like started having a memory leak. But all right, there we go. I mean, we're at 59 frames a second. Honestly, like anything above 30 frames a second is going to be more than playable for a game like this. Like, all right, so how are we going to do collision? So what we could do is we could have the player look for his own collision, but I don't know. I haven't like done like collision stuff in a long time. 2D collision detection. What's like a simple collision detection for dummies? All right, I'm a dummy. Mask approach, the bounding box approach. Bounding box refers to the smallest possible rectangle. Sure, it will be bounding box. That I do know. Let's see. All right, we're going to use a simple 2D, so the application will follow a 2D framework. We'll populate an array with the actual list of platforms for our game world. Now we need to convert this into actual direct 2D geometry. I don't really care about all this stuff. Bounding box optimization. Check that every single object in the game world for collision with the player is both pointless. This is a so-called bounding box optimization where we will pre-calculate before the game starts the bounding boxes of every static object. Compare these with the total bounding boxes of the player's current position, desired position. Anyone that is over still examine the bounding box. All right, so this isn't really answering how I want. Like this is still using like for loops, and what I don't want to do is I don't want to I don't know what I want to do. 2D game, A, B, game collision. Broad phase collision detection. An introduction to clashing geometry. Blog post about AABB collision detection. AABB bounding box collision Lua? Bounding box, love.lua. How to use bounding box in Love 2D. A collision detection library. Bump. Lua exam 3D Lua physics for dummies. Collision detection using axis aligned bounding boxes. That's a really slow example. Complete code. I don't know why this came up under Lua. This is clearly JavaScript. But yeah, I know how to do this. This is not what I'm looking for. I hate these. I hate when I get like crap links. Tree and experimental collision detection. Dynamic bounding box volume hierarchy. Bounding box loop. So that bounding box will check two rectangular objects overlap. Yeah, all right, so what I got to figure out is there's like a tree, bounding box, collision. Multiple objects. Collision detection, what's the fastest way to work out 2D bounding box intersection? Well, I already have this part. That's the easy part. What I need to do is figure out is how do you iterate through all your objects? Separate axis theorem isn't the fastest solution, but it's relatively simple if you're trying to find a single line or a plane of 3D that will separate an object. The do box intersection. Oh my God, internet, you're failing me today. Intersects delta. Like I understand the math of how to do it. What I need to figure out is multiple bounding box algorithm and collision detection and is its performance in sequential vs CUDA parallel processing. This sounds like it's going to be a lot more than I feel like reading. Yeah, I don't need that. All right, types of tests: intersection test, sweep test, axis align, AAB versus AAB. AAB versus swept AAB. Okay, AABB versus AABB. This test uses separate axis testing, which checks of overlap between the two boxes on each axis. If either axis is not overlapping, the boxes aren't colliding. The function returns a hit object or null if two static boxes do not overlap. So the hit delta. So the colliding boxes will push out the nearest edge. This can cause weird behavior on moving boxes, so you should use sweep AAB instead of... All right, this code is very similar to the intersection point above. Sweep. Sweep volume tests are awesome. They tell you whether an object hits an object at any point along a path. This problem seems hard until someone tells you that the magic word. Minowski, if you inflate the static box by the size of the moving box, you can just test the movement segments. Sweep finds public sweep, constant sweep. If delta x box A point through multiple objects. All right, for static containers, sweep. It's a common use case to have a single object that needs to move through a world, colliding with many objects. Not that solving this problem effectively requires two steps. A broad phase, which does not do precise collision detection, but which can very quickly reject large chunks of the world which are not likely to collide. A narrow phase, which finds a given set of items. The first step is out of scope of this library, but this test is great for solving narrow phase. You can usually get away without a broad phase for simple games. Yeah. All right. What is this that I'm reading here? Intersection test of 2D. Time collision test. It's code's written in TypeScript, but its implementation should be easy enough to look at. We're also written helpers. Let's define a couple of helpers that we'll use throughout the code. ABS, clamp, which I already have. Sign, which I already have. ABS, I already have. Absolute value. All right. We'll need a 2D point. I already have all this stuff. The normalized I don't have. Types of test, an intersection test. Sweep tests are moving versus static tests. They take two objects, sweep one along a line of movement, and determine when it first collides with the other object along that path of movement. Normal intersection tests are helpful. Our intersection test can only determine what the best way to resolve a collision. Instead, you can use a sweep test to take a path of movement. Axis aligned bounding boxes. All right, none of this is really solving the problem that I have, which is if how do I? What I'm trying to think of is that it's funny. There was what was the now all of a sudden I can't remember. GitHub.com/ do I still have my examples up? Repositories. Man, I used to have here, let me see if it's on my GameCook stuff. Impact.js. Impact.js collision. Impact actually had like a pretty interesting way of doing collision. I feel like there's a way that you could like define an impact, what layer it was on. Check against property. Entity type. These are the two things that I sort of liked. Entity type A, type B, or both. Game spawn entity. So what I'm thinking of doing is, all right, like this is like hurting my brain. I'm gonna have to create another. Each object is gonna have to like loop through everything, but that's fine. I think what we're gonna wind up doing here is I think I'm gonna have the player actually what I'm trying to think in my head is this collision stuff, like this is like a black hole, right? What I want to do is I want to simplify the collision to its basic parts. The player needs to look at every single entity on the screen and decide if it's within its bounding box and whether it's an enemy or it's not an enemy. Then that way the enemy's bullets don't need to look for the player. Nothing else, like the enemies never need to know anything about the player. They're just They exist in the world, and if you hit one, they run through you and it takes away your life. So that means that the player needs to always look through every single entity. And what we're going to do is, all right, let's do this. We're going to start by I had a thing for collision. Reopen project. No, I had a code collision. What I want to do is we're doing something very similar to how the bullets were set up, where we're gonna add an object to the collision. Not every object needs to be in the collision. Am I trying to think of like what, like this object needs to look through all of these objects? No, I think this needs to happen in the spawner. Like, what we need to do... All right, we're going to make some like sweeping changes to this code. We have a width and a height. We have an X and a Y. So I think what we're going to try to do next is add a rect. And we're going to try to consolidate some of these. Well, the width and the height should be enough. Hold on a second here. Pixel Vision 8, SDK, rect. We should be able to assign a rect to each of these objects. If I remember correctly, it should be something like this. Create collision rect. So we'll do entity data dot rect equals new rect and set it to X, Y, leave it empty for right now. I just want to see if that new rect, so that does create a new rect instance. If you're just tuning in, I'm trying to add in the simplest collision, trying to make it do the simplest collision detection possible. And what I've decided is that well, I could have A looks for B. All right, we'll start with the player and then we'll go from there. Like, what I'm sort of getting lost on is how to really keep this simple. We gotta stop. I gotta stop going back and forth over ideas. I just gotta like actually implement something. So update collision. So let's do this. Function test collisions, and we're going to do target A, target B, and what we're going to look for is like, I'm trying to remember how Impact did this. Because I actually really liked the way Impact had like a really simple system for doing this. And receive damage, Impact. What were the callbacks for this? Gravity, health, ID, last X, last Y. Bounce velocity, name, offset X. Though the type property entities can be organized into one of two groups or none. This is useful in conjunction with check against property. Two entities are overlapping and the check against property of one of the entity matches the type of the other entity. The former entity's check method is called, with the latter entity as the parameter. That's what we need to do. All right, so what we're going to do is we'll make this none. Type equals none. And then what the other one was check against, in conjunction with the check against property. Could be one of these, type property. Read more in the collision tutorial. What I should do is just go through. I really should go through and reread the source code of how he set all this up. I actually really like the basic collision engine inside of Impact. What is not clear to me right now, and what I really got to figure out is, do I want to give everything like unique labels? Or do I want to keep it generic? Like, like what I'm thinking of doing is let's see if we can abstract this out. Code collision. What I want to do is we're going to add a collision entity, and whenever we call update collision entities, it's going to go through our list of entities to check, and it's going to go through itself and compare all the other ones, and then we'll figure out the callbacks later. So in essence, what we need to do is collision entities. We just need to do insert, or it would be a table insert collision entities target. right? So add collision entity. So the first thing we're going to do is when we create our player, we're just going to call add collision entity player. What I want to do in the spawner is I want to make entities global. So this way, at least every other script can have access to it. Because what we want to do here is, right now, we're going to call update bullets, update physics, update collision. Time delta. Scroll position. That's the only thing that that's going to make this a little bit weird, is that the player, I think in this particular case, I don't know. The problem is that the player isn't scrolling, and the other stuff is on the scroll position. So I have to almost subtract the scroll position, but I don't know what that's going to do to the player. Complicated. Collision detection stinks. This is not my favorite part of the game engine. But once I get this sort of going, we should be good to go. What I'm almost tempted to do is just like hard code this for right now and just say like, all right, let the player go through every single object and tell me if there's a collision. So update collision. So what we'll do is for total collision entities, local target A equals collision entities A. And then we'll do is for J total entities target B target B equals entities J. So, all right, as we update the collisions, it's going to go through, I've registered the player, and the player is going to look for I'm almost wondering, like, I could really make this generic, but I don't want to like screw myself over in the end. There's also something else we got to keep track for. That are flagged. I don't think I'm being very good about deleting entities correctly. Make sure all sprites work. We're working on Ludum and we're adding in collisions. I was thinking about this just now, and when we update the bullet, it should only if a bullet happens to be flagged for deleting, we need to make sure that we don't update it, because it'll be deleted at the end of the loop. And I want to make sure that the spawner does the same thing. That if this is flagged, else there we go. Maybe that'll fix that weird bug that I was seeing where the bullets were like sort of disappearing from the gun. Nope, it's still there. But there was some other errors that we had earlier, so maybe this will add one extra layer of protection. The system got like really complicated. What I'm trying to do is add these systems in like layers. So I'm trying to think of like if I wrote this as a tutorial to teach other people how to build stuff, it would you'd be like, okay, like let's build the spawner, then like let's build the collisions, and then let's build the bullet stuff. And I don't know how that's actually going to work out, but all I know is that this game has gotten like ridiculously complicated, and it's only day 1. It hasn't even been 24 hours yet. Draw entities. All right, but the other thing we want to do is configure. So code collision. All right, I need to copy over this stuff here. So we have the remove list. We clean up. And then in this collision stuff, if target A, add to remove list I, else go through and loop, go through and get rid of all this other stuff. Okay, because what I want to do is, the other thing I want to do is I'm going to add the bullets. So let's add collision entity, code spawner bullet. Wait a minute. I could do this here. Local bullet equals this. Add bullet. All right, well, it should be, it's technically going through and testing stuff. It's just right now it's not, it's not actually, let me open a terminal. It should be, let's see. How do we want to make sure that this is working? Test 1. Interesting that it's not testing, it's not doing multiple tests. It should add collision entity bullet. Let me see something here. When I create the player, call spawn entity. All right, it should return something. All right, I'm not too worried right now about, I can't worry about the player's bullets. That's, what I have to worry about is total collision entities. All right, so it is adding the bullets. Let's just make sure this is increasing correctly. Yeah, that's weird. It's not incrementing correctly. Collision entities. Add target. Total collision entities. Remove. Oh, that's weird. All right, I don't want to do that. I want to remove collision entity. Table remove collision entities ID. And then we'll do this and redo this here. Okay. Let's see if that fixes part of this problem. Nope. Add collision is not incrementing. Why is it only one? Add collision entity. Shoot. If the bullet doesn't equal nil, this should be true. So what it's telling me is that this is nil. Is this bullet nil? Bad. So this bullet being returned, new bullet. Here's the problem. I'm willing to bet you I'm not returning the value of a new bullet, which I'm not. Bullet. Perfect. All right, that'll fix all this other crap. Because now bullets should also be checking for their collision. 9. Why is that still, why is new bullet still returning nil? If bullet limit and return counter, bullet limit counter greater than return bullet. You can tell when I'm like getting serious, I'm like running out of steam. It's like, oh, what am I going to talk about? How about why the hell this isn't fucking working? There we go. Now it's counting and it's removing itself. Like you see when those bullets are gone, it now goes back to 2 and we're good to go. So I'm only going to add this to the, I'm only going to add that to the collision if the bullet is good to go, and we should be good. All right. That took a second. All right, so now what's happening is that the player and the bullets should be looping through all the other entities that exist. And what we now need to do is, what we're going to do is when one thing collides with another, let's start with like the player. I'm probably just going to disable the bullets for a second. If the player collides with something else, we're going to subtract the player's life. So what we got to do is I don't know if I want to use, well, what we could just do is local rect A equals new rect, local rect B equals new rect. And when we pull out an instance here, we can do something like this. So rect A x equals target A x, and then let's duplicate y with height, right? And then we'll do the same thing for target B. Target B. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the rect from target A and the rect from target B, and on the end, at the end of this loop, one thing I want to do real quick is to do only test if target B is a valid type. All right, so what language is this? This is Lua, my nemesis. But it's for the person who said C#, it's actually Lua controlling C#, because why do I don't do anything normal. If you're just tuning in, I'm gonna try to make a an endless runner turn-based Mega Man game for Ludum Dare, and I'm using my game engine or my framework, Pixel Vision 8, and my tools, the game creator, to basically build a little game. This is a fantasy game console, and whoa, what did I break? Oh, I was in the middle of this collision stuff. Right now I'm just trying to add collision. 31. It doesn't like width. Height. I'm trying to just add in the basic collision detection between the player and other objects in the game. And then once I figure out a good system for that, I'll add in the bullets and we should be good to go. I don't think we need to test everything. So right now, on every frame, we're basically. I was looking at impact. I was looking at some references for how to do collision, but I think I've gotten what I need from this stuff. We'll keep the docs open. I'm also trying to see if there's like any performance issues with all this stuff doing these collision tests. Where was let's do this. I'll probably create these recs. It seems sort of counterintuitive to do it, but what we could do now is let's do this. We're going to do print collision and we're going to test rect A. Shoot, I got rid of the I don't think I've documented the rect, but we should do where is the Pixel Vision 8 stuff? I was looking at the C# code. Because I don't have all the Lua stuff documented correctly. Here we go. Engine data. At the end of it, there should be intersects with rect, and we can pass in intersects with rect B. I actually just we should do collision J. All right, let's see if this works. I don't know why it's doing collision constantly, but I have a slight feeling that it's colliding with itself. We need to add in the test. So what we want to look for is why do the frames freeze like that? What frames freeze in the game? I'm having some problems with my Mac, and I think it's just not rendering the game correctly. That warping stuff, I don't ever really see that on Windows, and I turned off the VSync in Unity when I compiled this build. So, and I'm looking at like the recording, like on my Mac right now, everything looks smooth, but the recorder I don't think is getting it. If you're saying that the freeze frames are is the game itself playing back. So what I want to make sure is that why? Oh, right now, well, the game is literally writing to this log file, so that's going to be dropping the frame rate significantly. Let me get rid of that real quick. I mean, I got it back. I mean, it says 59 frames a second. There's some stuff I can do to get that to 60 frames, but it's probably running at full speed. When you're developing and it's inside of this container, it's gonna run a little bit slower, anyways. So, all right, what I was looking at doing here. So, rect A intersects with rect B. What we want to make sure is that we're not. How do I want to do this? So when we add a collision, I want to basically tell the player to look for add a collision, and we're going to tag this guy as the player. Maybe you could hear me. Is the video not? Is the video skipping? I'm not following what's. I'm not following what the problem is. Add collision. What I was trying to do is get it to where, oh yeah, I don't know. Target game. What I want to look for is if target B type does not equal target A type, then end. All right, so what we're going to try to do is let's just make sure that we're not colliding with the same thing. I want to clear this log. This log file has got to be like ridiculously big at this point. Workspace, Ludum Dare. Why does it not remember? All right, so all right. Well, it's not colliding with anything now. Rect A. Oh, I know why. I know why. Okay, so... So the player isn't colliding with the... Did I add the bullets? Add collision, bullet, bullet. We'll put them on the player layer. Yeah, there we go. It works. Oh, and it's crashed. 57. Bullets, 57. Counter total. Remove bullet. That's weird. It was working fine until I did this stupid thing. Remove bullets. I wonder if this has anything to do with the fact that I added the collision. Maybe the collision entity is now... Yeah, there's something with the fact that I'm now using the collision logic is now watching it. Let's see here. $57. This is encode bullets. 57. Remove bullet. Ignore this. Remove bullet entity. Let's make sure I'm not using remove bullet entity anywhere, stupid. Nope. Is my audio gone quiet? Why is everyone having problems? Testing, testing. Hold on. He's talking to someone behind him and not on the mic. I don't know. Let me see what's going on with my mic. It should be fine. Am I too far away from the microphone? Is that better now? I was sort of slumped over because I was deep in thought trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. So hopefully let me know if that sounds better. But all right, I'll try to talk. I'll bring the mic a little bit closer. Yeah, I was a little further away from the mic. Sorry about that. I need to I don't have like I'm now using like a boom mic thingy on my desk, and it's not the best. I like when I do like Linda courses, I'll have like a mic on the headset, but then like I feel like this mic doesn't. I don't know. I got to really sit down and redo like the sound in my office. Shockingly enough, I was not set up to do this. All right, I want to. All right, what I got to figure out is that somewhere now, when this collision thing is tracking it, it's now removing it from. Yeah, I have a Yeti Blue. Kind of sucks. Remove collision entity. Remove list. What I don't understand is why the bullet now all of a sudden isn't Bullet ID equals null. Let me, how did I break shit? It's okay. It sounds like a tin can. I mean, it's not the greatest mic ever. I mean, I got like a really good Blue Yeti, but it's just, I don't know. I hate it for the exact reason of why I just had to spend 5 minutes trying to figure out if my sound was working or... I can't set it to omnidirectional because it'll just pick up my entire family downstairs or all around me. So I just try to... I set it to just like directly focus on my voice, whatever the mode is. I don't know. It's at the bottom of the mic. 57. Counter total... If counter doesn't equal nil, then we're going to wrap conditions everywhere. All right. I think I'm getting my second wind of the day. There we go. Oh, that sucks. Now it's like, now I'm losing the bullet counter. What the fuck is going on? All right, well, long story short, what looks like happening here is at least I shoot that and it went through, it was doing collisions, and it's, we're going to do one shot. And what I want to do with the collision is I got to think of how I want this stuff to work. All right. So when we create a bullet, we're going to create a yeah, for some reason, like, I don't know, like, my kids and my family are loud. So we're like New Yorkers, so I feel like they get picked up. I mean, today is not like one of those streams where I'm really, I mean, they're home, so I'm cognizant of that. But also there's like a big window right next to me, and then it just pulls out all the audio from the window. Okay, what are we doing here? Because I'm slowly breaking shit, and it's driving me nuts. We got to figure out next is what actually happens when there's a collision. So on the bullet, what I want to do is I'm going to create a function on bullet collision, and we'll call this target A, target B. Print on bullet collision. And what I wanted to double check is bullet on collision equals bullet on collision. And what we're going to do is when there is a collision with if A intersects with B, we're going to test to see if rect A on collision equals doesn't equal nil, then and rect A on collision, call it, and we're going to pass in target A, target B. All right, so now All I want to see is if this actually like collides. Whoa, all kinds of crazy shit happens. Code collision 54. No, idiot. It should be target A. All right, so I called on bullet collision. So what we're going to do for the bullet is we're going to take a look at what the target B is. And if target B life does not equals nil, then end. Here we'll do else. And we can, I haven't added in bad guys yet to kill, but what we have right now is we have another bullet and we have a the cannon. So what I just want to try to get is if this bullet hits something that can't be killed, the bullet basically destroys itself. And the way that we could do that is by simply setting the flag on this to remove. So we would go to target A dot remove equals true. Seems fair enough, like it should work. There we go. I'm out of bullets though, because I broke something and I don't know why. What? For some reason. Oh, son of a. Okay, because this is called, because I've changed the type, should be bullet type. Oh, that's going to be a problem. Hold on, I got to fix this here in this thing. Bullet type, that's the problem. It's colliding with the other type thing, I think. Is that the problem? There we go. All right, so now if we shoot, it should hit these things, and they basically act as solid things that block the bullet. All right. So now we got the basics of shooting down. Like, if we wanted to, like, destroy this cannon, well, you know what we should do? I think we should take, like, maybe like a quick break. I hate sitting down like this all day long. I need to get a standing desk. What we could do is we could add a little bad guy in. I think what I want to do, though, first is get the player colliding correctly and see how that works. Because I don't think the player is actually colliding. Like, let me get rid of this real quick, and let's see if code spawn code collision print collision. Yeah, so the player isn't going through correctly. I don't know why. Add collision entity player. Spawn entity. Is this returning an object? All right. Oh, I know why. I remember. The problem with the player is that it's not taking into account the scroll position. And what I want to do is take a look at when we create an entity, I set a flag for whether it uses the scroll position or not. Wow, this is getting complicated. Use scroll. So code collision, basically what we need to look for is if target A dot use scroll equals false, then end rect a x equals rect a dot x plus scroll position x. And now we can duplicate this and do y. All right, let's see if this collides now. There we go, collision. Collision. All right, cool. So now, what we're going to do is stop this from printing out everything. So now what we need to do is add a thing where the player... We got to see if the player is invincible. So we're gonna do a few things here real quick. When we create the player, we're gonna do what I was trying to figure out is if we want to have a collision delay. The collision delay of like, you get like 1 second before it collides again. So what we'll do is, well, it would be like, yeah, it would be fine. Okay, let's take a look at this. What we want to do is, if this is remove, else, the next thing we want to test is... All right, first off, I want to pull all this stuff and put this here. If the object's about to be removed, there's no reason to even bother this stuff. Now, the next thing we want to do is test to see if player can accept collision. So if target A dot collision delay does not equal nil, then we'll do all this shit. All right, so when we add an entity, we'll call this delay. Target dot delay equals delay. Whoops, this should be collision delay. So the problem I'm trying to solve right now is if, you know, when the player walks through an object, what's going to happen is they're just going to keep calling collision like we saw earlier, right? What we're looking for is when the player loses life, they should have a second or so before they can get hit again, right? And that's going to allow you to walk through the object without just like losing all your health. So before I even wire up the health stuff, there's no point in that. We need to just get it to where there's like 1 collision per object. So target collision delay will equal the delay that gets passed in. If nothing gets passed in, that'll just be set to null. So if that's nil, if it's not nil, then we can actually do a collision. No, that's wrong. what it should be is that anything that gets added in should have that. It should be if target A collision. All right. Target A collision time equals target A collision time plus time delta. So no matter what, everything that does collision will automatically have this target collision delay time equals 0. So all it means is that we're always going to be looking to increase the collision time. Now, if the target collision time is greater than the target A collision delay, then we can actually perform a collision. Now, objects by default will have a delay of 0, and that means that they'll always instantly look for the first collision. So now, whenever we detect a collision, we're going to reset the collision timer to equal 0. And until they're able to accept another collision, that's when you'd have, like, they'd be flashing or something like that, right? So this should now get us to the point of where, let's see here. Now let's add in print collision. All right, so let's see if we don't get like a million collisions. It should just be like one and then a break. Or none. Or none. Oh, collision. Oh, that's because I set the delay to like 1. Okay, let's do this as like 0.2. All right. So the other thing is that we only want to reset this collision when a collision actually happens. So in this case, like if we did set it to something like 0.5, whoops, wrong one. It should do the first collision, and then the second collision, the third collision. All right. So, and what we could do is we could do something here really easily, like let's say like draw entities. So before we go and we draw the entities, we could do something to the player where like if player dot collision time is less than player dot collision delay, then and we could do like player dot color offset equals 0, else player color offset equals 4. So that would shift the palette back. So like, let's take a look. Here, if we take a hit, it should, there we go. And now we can actually see when the player is colliding with something as well. So, all right, so that's the beginning parts of our very basic collision detection. What we would do is something like this. Like I would probably make this delay a little bit longer, right? So I would have this at like 1 or something. And when we start this out, we'll start this. We're going to start the collision delay over, or the collision time at the collision delay, so that so we immediately have a collision. Like, because when this guy lands, he shouldn't be invincible right now. He should be ready to go. And he hits that, and then you have like this longer period of safety, right? And then now what we'll do is we could do some like quick shifting, palette shifting. So if we did something like this, we're which was we would do 4 multiplied by player this mod mod 0.2. I don't know if this will work. Let's see what this does. It didn't really work how I thought it would. There's some other things that I could do to like get this to. I don't know how much it's going to be actually adding up. I might have to. There we go. I mean, that's not what I'm looking for, but let's see. Well, whatever. You get the you sort of get the idea, right? Like now, what you could do is at least he shows some sort of effect by just doing some basic palette shifting when he gets hit. I mean, in a stupid way, that's kind of cool. Like it sort of works, but I'll go back and I'll clean that up later. Today is not my like cleanup day. Today is my day to like get all these systems in place. Tomorrow, I'm gonna go through and just like clean up the game and get this to work as a like. As a solid, like at least as solid of a Mega Man game as I can get. And why are those not colliding now? What's going on with that? Did I remove the bullet stuff? All right, so what we're gonna do is if damaged, need to make this flicker. Out of curiosity, I wonder what this is even outputting. Probably going to stream for like probably stream to the end of this Pomodoro, and then I will take a break. I think what I want to do is multiply this by 10. Math floor. Trying to get this to just be a simple whole number. See how it says 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1? That's what we're looking for. Because we're dealing with like fractions of a frame. It's like not an I mean, it's not hard. It's just not as straightforward of a thing as I'd want. This will flicker it back and forth. There we go. And now I could do something more like if I wanted to delay it, I could just set the modulus to like 3. That might give it a little bit more of a delay. That's kind of a cool effect. I like that effect a lot. I think anything more than 2 is going to yeah, it's going to have to be 2 because then that'll alternate between off and on. Yeah, it looks so cool. It looks like a game. It's like I almost got a game going here. Tomorrow my plan is really to design and build out like the levels and all that kind of crap. Build out the levels, all the other like missing pieces. Tonight I'm probably going to keep programming on this. I don't know if I'll stream, but definitely won't stream when the kids go to sleep. It's also sort of important when you're doing these game jams to like just take a break. I might just like watch a movie or something tonight and like refresh or go to sleep. Going to sleep would be good. That would be super good. I'm sort of tired. I want to set this Y to 2 and I want to draw the health meter All right, so let's just add in health, and then that's like the basics of what we would need for a that would be the basics that we need for a game loop, right? Like we can avoid obstacles, we can take damage, and yeah, once we do that, I was just actually thinking, the one thing I haven't done is I was thinking of doing some. I was trying to figure out if I'm going to have the physics engine push the player to the left if you don't time a jump correctly. I don't know if I want it to be like completely flat like this, but I was thinking I could actually put some spikes on the left-hand side of a wall. So if you don't do the jump, you just hit the spikes and die and don't have to deal with any of the physics stuff. It's already at that point where I'm trying to like figure out how can I like cheat. But that's like a good solution. What I'm really concerned about is that this is becoming like this like massive thing. I would like to simplify this code. I guess afterwards I'll go through and simplify this. I mean, the bullet stuff is pretty straightforward at this point. We haven't really added that in. Let's get it to where the player can lose life now, and then we'll probably stop around there. So what I did for the bullet was on bullet collision, we could do something here like function on player collision, target A, target B, and so what we want to do is we're going to say local hit or local value is going to equal target B dot attack or 1. So if we don't have like a specific attack, like some things might be like if we collide with something like a spike, that would like immediately take off all the life, right? So what we'll do is then we're going to do target A. Target A is going to always be the player, but what I wanted to see was we should have, it should be health, right? Is that what I'm, draw meter health. So target A health is going to equal target A health minus target B attack, or I don't even need, I could simplify this whole damn thing. And now on the bullet, we'll call on collision. So we're going to do player on collision equals on player collision, right? And then if target A health is less than or equal to 0, then end on game over. On, well, actually we'll call it on player death. We'll just stub this stuff out. Function player death. Or kill. All right, so all we'll do here is print game over. All right, I'm excited. This might be like a real thing. Let's get rid of on the collision. Let's get rid of the print statement for collision, right? And well, we now have. We should have it where it like takes off the health. Nope. Fooled you. 43 player health. Attempt to perform arithmetic on a nil value. All right, sure. All right, well, there we go. All right, so right now there's no value. It's just taking off health, but it's working. Look at that. Huh. All right, so it should now be game over, right? Game over. We got a game. We got a very basic game. Cool. I'm excited. This thing is like looking pretty good. And then game over. So like what we could do is we could do something like this. So kill the player. We could do player dot remove equals true. We could set the speed to 0. Right? So we would stop scrolling. We would set the speed to 0. And then basically kill the... Then it should remove the player. Because then what we just need to do is that wherever we call player, so if player dot remove, or if player doesn't equal nil, then end. So here we're testing the controls. I took out the bullet collision. Okay, we'll get back to that in a minute. Draw if player doesn't equal nil. Well, do we might just show, do we get rid of the health bar? Player equals nil and 0, or it's gonna get a little bit loud. My wife needs to print something. The joys of having everything in my office. All right, so if player equals nil, we'll make this 0, or we'll just use the player's health. Where else are we calling player here? This stuff here. So if player doesn't equal nil, I can clean this up later. I'd probably like combine this into a lot of stuff, but anywhere else we're calling player directly. Here we're wrapping it. All right, so on collision player. All right, so all we would do now is that once we're done here, we set player equal nil, and that will clear out the player. Let's see if this works. It should destroy the player, stop the game, and stop scrolling. Drum roll. Will this actually work? Will it work? Bam! All right. So that's pretty cool. I think what we would do next is like there's lots of things we could do. Like we could like not update bullets after if the player dies. Like here we have update entities, map buffer, scroll position, update bullets. So like if player doesn't equal nil, then end. Right? Like we don't need to update the physics, or well, we do need to update the physics. I have some like bad guys that are probably gonna like be just jumping around as an obstacle, and I kind of thought it'd be cool to have them. There's like things should still exist. What would just happen is that they would shut down. So anything active would now just shut down. So let's see. Not what I was actually expecting. So it's still trying to create bullets. All right, well, whatever. We can deal with that later. I'll have to think of a way to... I'm going to have to come up with like a global way of pausing the game anyways. Because when I want to make... when I turn this into a turn-based game, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how I do that. All right. I like this. All right, so let me add back in the bullet collision stuff. It honestly actually won't take very long to get bad guys in. So tomorrow is going to be like a big day of level design. Like that's the core mechanics are like okay, but they're not very fun. All right, so all the collisions working. Player's dead. We're shooting. Everything looks good. What I probably should do is put bullets behind the other entities, but... Alright. I like this. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we can... I don't know, I should take a break. I'm going to take a break, and I'll come back to this later. I don't know if I'm going to stream, but it won't take me very long to add in bad guys. I just want to... That one I just want to take... I want to, like, sit down and holistically think through it, but... Cool. We have a... we have a really basic game. I was just going to record a little GIF of it. And then he dies, and then boom, we're done. Cool. All right, well, thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to take a break. Maybe I'll come back after dinner or something, and we'll pick it up from there.